Hello, sci-fi fans. Welcome to another chapter in the thrilling, action-packed world of human resilience and alien encounters. If you love a good mix of romance, adventure, and suspense, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can join us for more exciting tales. Get ready. This one's about to get wild. The planet Seris 9 stretched beneath a deep purple sky, the air thick with the smell of sulfur and ozone. Violent storms raged across the landscape, streaks of lightning tearing through the sky, adding a dramatic touch to the alien world. Towering alien spires reached upward, their surfaces covered with iridescent moss that glowed faintly in the dim light of the dying sun. Rivers of liquid silver flowed through vast canyons, their surfaces reflecting the faint light from distant stars. The world seemed both beautiful and hostile, a dangerous paradise for the brave and the curious. The planet's stunning beauty was only matched by its danger. The creatures that roamed Seris 9 were as magnificent as they were deadly, and Marcus, the lone human explorer, stood at the edge of a cliff, taking in the breathtaking yet intimidating sight. His heart raced with both excitement and fear, a mixture of emotions as he prepared to make first contact with an alien civilization that had been shrouded in mystery for centuries. Marcus had spent months studying alien texts and customs, training for the monumental task ahead. But despite all his preparation, there was a feeling deep in his chest that the unknown still awaited him. His mission wasn't just to establish an alliance with this strange world. It was to bring two vastly different species together, to bridge the gap between humanity and the unknown, and to ensure peace and understanding. Marcus was a man of medium build, with short-cropped dark hair and deep-set eyes that conveyed determination, yet a quiet warmth. He wore a sleek, high-tech suit designed to protect him in the harsh environments of alien worlds. Though he stood confidently, there was an unmistakable nervousness that lingered in the back of his mind. This wasn't just any diplomatic mission, it was humanity's chance to make its mark in the galaxy, to create lasting connections that would shape the future. He adjusted his gear, taking a deep breath to calm himself. The hum of his ship echoed. In the background, the sleek vessel gleaming in the dim light of the alien world. This was it. This barren world on the edge of the galaxy held the potential to change everything. Just as Marcus gathered his thoughts, a sudden hum filled the air, almost like a distant engine. The wind shifted, carrying with it a strange energy. Marcus turned, and through the swirling mist, saw a figure approaching. Tall and slender, the alien skin was a mesmerizing shade of azure blue, glowing softly in the dim light, pulsing with life. Her eyes locked with his, and in that moment, Marcus felt an odd, inexplicable connection, as if their meeting had been destined. The alien moved gracefully toward him, her body flowing like liquid, her every motion fluid and elegant. She wore no armor or weapons, only a simple robe-like garment made of a shimmering fabric, like liquid silver, that seemed to reflect the faint light around them. As she closed the distance between them, Marcus felt awe and anxiety flood his chest. This was what he had trained for, what he had prepared for. And yet, standing before this mysterious creature, he realized he was not prepared at all. Before Marcus could find the right words, a sudden rustle in the rocks behind him startled him. Another figure appeared, taller, more imposing, with dark skin that shimmered with iridescent patterns. His eyes were cold, calculating, his presence commanding in a way that made Marcus feel small. "I see you have arrived," the alien's voice rumbled, deep and resonant. "Welcome to Seris 9, human." Marcus's heart skipped a beat. He was no longer just a visitor, he was a part of something much larger. The uncertainty of his situation, the weight of the unknown, grew heavier by the second. Marcus stood frozen, unsure of how to respond. The alien woman beside him wore a serene, almost amused expression, while the newcomer's gaze was intense and wary. It was clear he was the leader, his presence dominating the space, but the woman's quiet confidence suggested she was no less important. She had a power about her, an aura that subtly demanded respect without uttering a word. The tall alien leader broke the silence, his voice deep and commanding, yet not without a certain calmness. "I am Haldor, leader of the Selenar people," he announced, his tone echoing in the stillness of the alien landscape. "And this," he motioned, to the woman beside him, "is Seris, my advisor." Marcus hesitated for a moment, still overwhelmed by the unexpected encounter. He hadn't prepared for the gravity of the situation. His mind raced, but he forced himself to regain composure. He gave a respectful bow, his hands slightly trembling as he did so. "Marcus Valen, human diplomat. It's an honor to meet you, both." Ceres's piercing eyes gleamed as she tilted her head ever so slightly, studying Marcus with an intensity that made his heart skip a beat. "Human customs are curious," she said with a soft, almost teasing tone. "But we will see if you are worthy of our alliance." Her words were a challenge, spoken with an air of politeness that still left Marcus feeling as though he was being sized up, scrutinized for something deeper than what was on the surface. He could feel the weight of her gaze, and it made him self-conscious about the intricacies of his own species' customs. As the introductions continued, Marcus couldn't help but notice the fascination the aliens had with his appearance. Ceres's eyes lingered on his suit, her brow furrowing slightly as she observed him, and Haldor seemed no less intrigued. "Your skin is pale," Seris remarked, her tone thoughtful. "How do you survive without the light of Solaris?" Marcus chuckled nervously, trying to ease the awkwardness that hung in the air. "We don't rely on the sun as much as you might think. We use technology, shields, heat suits." Seris raised an eyebrow, clearly amused but still intrigued. Haldor, who had been silently watching the exchange, let out a low growl of amusement. "Fascinating. Your species must be resilient." Marcus felt a small smile tug at his lips, appreciating the humor, though he was unsure whether it was meant in jest or genuine curiosity. The tension that had initially surrounded them seemed to lessen for a moment, but he knew the real conversation was about to begin. As the conversation shifted to more pressing matters, Marcus found himself drawn into a discussion about their cultures. The initial humor had worn off, and now there was an undeniable curiosity in Ceres's gaze. She was no longer just the distant alien who had welcomed him. Her interest in him seemed to be personal, as though she was learning about his species on a deeper level, not just as a diplomat, but as a human. "You speak of Earth as a place of war and peace," Seris mused, her voice soft and inquisitive, yet laced with a quiet intensity. "How does your kind reconcile such contradictions?" Marcus swallowed, suddenly feeling the weight of the question. He wasn't sure how to explain the complexities of human nature, of the conflict that seemed to exist at the core of humanity. The words caught in his throat, and he took a slow breath to steady himself. "We're still learning, I guess," he began, struggling to put the vast complexities of human history into a few simple words. "But we're working toward peace, even if it's a slow process." Seris watched him closely, her gaze intense yet thoughtful, as if trying to peel away the layers of his response to find something more. A flicker of a smile appeared on her lips, a small, almost imperceptible thing, but enough to send a warm shiver down Marcus's spine. She was beautiful, no doubt, but it was her intensity, her intelligence, and the depth of her understanding that made her even more striking. Marcus couldn't help but feel that there was something else beneath the surface of their exchange, a tension that wasn't entirely about diplomacy. He felt the subtle shift in the air between them, as though their words were a prelude to something more. something that went beyond their respective missions. Before Marcus could continue, a sudden crackling sound filled the air, a low, ominous hum that sent an involuntary chill down his spine. The air seemed to thicken, and Haldor's posture stiffened. His usual calm demeanor had vanished, replaced by a quiet tension. "The Council," Haldor muttered under his breath. His voice was suddenly colder, more serious. "They are not pleased with our guest." Marcus felt his heart race, the weight of the situation sinking in. The friendly atmosphere of the meeting had quickly turned. The warm, curious energy Seris had exuded now seemed to shift with the arrival of this new tension. There were more layers to this alien society than he had anticipated. Seris's eyes flickered briefly to Haldor before returning to Marcus, her expression unreadable. "Be prepared," she said softly. "Not everyone will see you the way I do." The warning lingered in the air as the crackling hum grew louder and Marcus's senses heightened. What had started as a diplomatic mission to forge peace now seemed to be on the edge of unraveling. The Council, whatever that meant, was ready to make their presence felt, and Marcus found himself caught in the middle of something much more complicated than he had expected. Just as Marcus opened his mouth to respond, the trees behind them shook. With a sudden, violent force, the hum grew louder, and the ground beneath them trembled slightly. Something was coming, something he wasn't prepared for. Haldor's gaze turned toward the horizon, where dark figures began to emerge from the shadows, their forms hidden by the dense mist. "They've arrived," he said, his voice low but filled with a sense of foreboding. Marcus felt his stomach drop as he realized that the journey ahead was far from simple. He was no longer just a diplomat. He was in the midst of a power struggle that could change everything, and it was just beginning. As the days passed on Solaris 9, Marcus found himself drawn to Seris more and more. Their time together became increasingly frequent, and with each passing conversation, the bond between them deepened. What had started as a diplomatic mission now felt like something more. There was an undeniable pull between them, an attraction mixed with curiosity. Seris would ask about Earth, about human history, and the intricacies of the human race. But there was always something more in her gaze, something beyond just curiosity, something that made Marcus feel like they were no longer just an ambassador and a leader, but something more. One evening, as the two of them sat by a fire, the flickering flames casting shadows on their faces, Seris asked him a question that lingered in the air long after she spoke. "How do humans form bonds?" she asked, her voice quiet, contemplative. "Is it through trust or something else?" Marcus thought about it carefully. It wasn't a question he had been asked before, at least not in such a direct way. "I think it's about understanding each other," he said, choosing his words carefully. "We may be different, but we all want the same thing: connection. We crave it, whether it's through family, friends, or something more." Seris was silent for a moment, staring deeply into the fire as if seeking an answer within its glowing embers. She looked back at him, her expression softening. "Perhaps you will find the connection you seek here, Marcus." Her words hung in the air between them, heavy with unspoken meaning. Marcus wasn't sure what to make of it, but he knew one thing for sure. There was something in the way she spoke that made his heart race, something that suggested she wasn't just speaking about diplomacy anymore. The next few days were filled with long walks and conversations. Marcus and Seris continued to learn about each other's worlds, her alien culture and his human experience. The Selena people had strange and complex customs, and Seris shared her people's philosophies with him in a way that was both foreign and oddly familiar. There were moments of lightness too, especially when Seris would surprise him with her dry wit. She had a sharp sense of humor that Marcus hadn't expected from someone so poised and regal. They laughed together more often than he had thought possible, and for the first time since arriving on Solaris 9, he felt like he belonged in this strange alien world. But amid the moments of laughter, there were times when Seris would reveal something more profound, something that caused Marcus to pause and think. One night, as they shared stories of their respective cultures, Seris spoke in a way that made Marcus realize just how different their worlds were. "When we bond," she said seriously, "we do not marry. We share everything. If I were to share my life with you, it would not be a bond of possession, it would be a balance." Marcus was quiet, processing her words. "So, you don't believe in ownership?" he asked carefully. Seris met his gaze, her eyes intense. "No, we believe in balance. We believe in understanding each other fully, without possession. We are connected, not by ownership, but by understanding." The weight of her words settled on Marcus. It was so different from what he had known, so different from the way humans had historically viewed relationships. There was no sense of ownership or control. It was just a shared existence, a balance. He couldn't help but admire the simplicity, yet depth of such a concept. But just as Marcus began to feel more comfortable in Ceres's company, a sudden shift occurred. He overheard a conversation between Haldor, the alien leader, and another council member. The words were low, but the tone was unmistakably serious. Marcus strained his ears to catch what was being said. "The human is a danger," Haldor growled. "He may disrupt everything we've worked for." Marcus's heart skipped a beat. His mind raced with questions. Was he in danger? Was this alliance truly as fragile as it seemed? He thought he had made progress with Seris, but this conversation suggested otherwise. Was there a faction within the Selena people that opposed him? What did they fear about him and Earth? Before he could reflect further, a soft but urgent voice broke his thoughts. "Marcus," Seris said, appearing at his side. Her face was serious now, no longer the playful and inquisitive alien he had grown accustomed to. "There are forces at work here that you don't yet understand." Marcus turned to her, his heart pounding. Her hand rested gently on his arm, lingering a moment longer than necessary, her touch sending a jolt through him. "Not all of us are as open to your presence as I am. Be careful." Her warning was soft but urgent, and for the first time since arriving on Solaris 9, Marcus felt the full weight of the situation. This mission, this connection he had worked so hard to build, was on the verge of unraveling. There were forces here, both political and personal, that he hadn't yet grasped. The Selena people were not all united. There were divisions, tensions, and hidden motives that Marcus had not anticipated. As Ceres's words sank in, he realized that his journey was far from over. There was so much more to learn, more to navigate, and now a new threat lurked just beneath the surface. With Ceres's hand still resting on his arm, Marcus's mind raced with possibilities. But just as he opened his mouth to speak, a low rumble shook the ground beneath them. A deep, resonating hum filled the air, and Marcus's instincts told him that something was coming. Ceres's expression hardened, her eyes narrowing as she turned toward the horizon, where dark shapes began to emerge from the mist. Her grip tightened slightly on his arm, and she looked at him with a mixture of concern and resolve. "They've arrived," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "The council." The sound of approaching footsteps echoed through the air, and Marcus knew, without a doubt, that the moment of reckoning was here. The story was about to take a darker turn, and Marcus was caught right in the middle of it.